Greetings everyone, welcome back to Lemex Effects. Today we talk about Final Fantasy X and how the game's story and mechanics come together to make what looks like a battle system straight from the Bible. But first, like and subscribe and share this with someone you think is interested in Final Fantasy X, game design, and or how to use the Bible to make game mechanics. So, let us begin. Alright, so before we were at Kilika, but I want to backtrack a little bit. So let's go to Besaid Island to where Wakka gives a battle tutorial to Tidus.
Here comes one now. Hey, why don't you try out that sword I gave you?
No problem.
Not too shabby. You kept up with him pretty well. Might make a good guardian someday. A flyer! My kind of customer.
So let's examine this battle. Tidus makes quick work of the Dog Fiend, and Wakka says, "You kept up with him pretty well." Now this seems strange to us because to us, it looks like a turn-based battle and everyone just stays in place like chess pieces waiting for a turn. But remember, to the characters in the game, this is real life. So the Dingo was likely running around and trying to dodge Tidus' attacks, but Tidus, being a Blitzball player, was too dang fast. He had to literally keep up. This lets us know that Tidus' purpose, or office, or administration is to hunt down fast fiends, like a scout. Likewise, a flying fiend looks to us like it just hovers in place above the ground, but in actuality, it's flying above overhead. So Wakka is a sniper that can shoot it out of the sky. Tidus, he can't do that. Now we come to the gelatinous flan.
Looks like trouble.
Ha! Watch this!
We find its defenses of physical attacks are too dang high. So Wakka and Tidus can't take it. So how in the world do we beat it?
Told ya, only magic can beat that thing. If you can't beat them down, you gotta use magic of an element they don't like.
Magic? Element?
Let's have our black mage show you what I mean. Lou, you're up.
Clueless, aren't you? Good thing I'm here. Spells of ice work well against fire fiends, and ice fiends are weak against fire magic. You follow?
I get fire and ice, but what about lightning and water?
Lightning and water are opposed, just like fire and ice. This one here is a water fiend, which means...
So Tidus and Wakka specialize in physical attacks. Also, they have high defense and are fast, so they can hit more enemies and can tank high damage. Lulu is slow and has low attack and also has low defense, so her attacks don't hit, and if they do, they don't deal much damage. But Lulu does use magic, so she can blast through the slow and more durable flans. As such, you learn that each character has different strengths and weaknesses. You use each for different purposes, and specializing in where they fit best makes them more useful. For example, I won't try to make Tidus learn high-level magic when he doesn't have the magic points to handle it or the magic attack to deal the adequate magic damage. But I promise the scripture, so 1 Corinthians chapter 12 verses 4 through 6 for now. Now there are diversities of gifts, but the same Spirit. And there are differences of administrations, but the same Lord. And there are diversities of operations, but it is the same God which worketh all in all. Basically, it's saying that everyone has different gifts and purposes. Everyone was built to do different things. If you read down to verse 8, it'll tell you examples of these gifts. Verse 8. For to one is given by the Spirit the word of wisdom, to another the word of knowledge by the same Spirit, to another faith by the same Spirit, to another the gifts of healing by the same Spirit, to another the working of miracles, to another prophecy, to another discerning of spirits, to another diverse kinds of tongues, to another the interpretation of tongues. So, Titus has faith that they'll succeed and to cheer his team. Waka knows this world and has words of knowledge about how to fight. Lulu can make miracles and cause fire to fall from the sky. And Yuna has gifts of healing. Later, Riku can speak in tongues and interpret them because she can speak in Albed and English. Verse 11, but all these worketh that one and selfsame Spirit, dividing to every man severally as he will. So the Spirit that works in each of these characters is you, the player. You are the God over their lives, and you build them according to their strengths. Everyone does their own thing, but it's all towards the same goal, which is you beating the game. Now, I don't think Final Fantasy made this system relate to the Bible on purpose, but it's a pretty interesting coincidence. Actually, now I think about it, I can find the entire magic system in the Bible, but I'm not talking about the whole thou shalt not suffer wish to live thing, so let me explain. Let's talk about the status effect first, silence. This effect prevents your characters from doing magic. But why? Well, when you receive a status effect, you notice that there are these 3 dots above the character's head. That means the character can't speak. But... so somehow the silent character can still make noises. Therefore, Titus is not actually silent. So what does silence mean? Well, let's ask Yuna. You see, when she casts magic,
light shine strong, our woe be gone. Shield us from fiery fury.
notice, she's not just making noises or even some incantation. She's literally praying for some spirit for protection or healing, right? Psalms chapter 5 verse 12. For thou, Lord, wilt bless the righteous. With favor wilt thou compass him as with a shield. If you didn't know, the book of Psalms is a list of prayers. In the case of no fire, a spirit is compassing or encircling a person to shield him from fire.
Shield us from thunderous bane. Shield us from watery woe. Shield us from frigid blight.
So magic is when a person speaks to some spirit for something to happen. Now for a lesson in Spanish. The Spanish word for to speak is decir. Why do I bring this up? Because good means ben, and bendecir is a good word. Why is that important? Because bendecir or bendiga is literally how you say blessing in Spanish. So Yuna saying words or prayers to do healing magic are literally blessings. By contrast, Lulu's words are maldigas or evil words, specifically curses. She's asking or praying for harm to fall upon her enemies. A good example of a prayer of curses is from David in Psalms 143 verse 12. And of thy mercy, cut off mine enemies, and destroy all them that afflict my soul, for I am thy servant. So King David prayed for God to destroy his enemies. He wanted them to die. That, my friends, is a curse. I'll explain who David's enemies are in another video, but in short, God answers prayers of blessings for the righteous person's friends and prayers of cursings against his enemies. These take the form of magic in Final Fantasy X. So silence isn't actually making you silent, it's making it so you are disconnected from the spirit. Therefore, they will not hear what you say. Jeremiah chapter 7 verse 16. Therefore pray not thou for this people, neither lift up cry nor prayer for them, neither make intercession to me, for I will not hear thee. Okay, before we get back to Kilika, let's talk about some other part of game design. This specifically is story, all right? So when you make a game, you want to tell the story also through your gameplay. For example, a strong character who stands his ground in arguments would probably have high physical defense in battle. Just like he defends himself in his normal conversation, it shows through how you use him in the gameplay. A good example of this are Yuna and Lulu.
A flyer! That's your department, right?
True, true. But, why don't we let our summoner show us what she's made of?
Yuna as a character speaks kindly to others, so her words are full of life. She speaks healing into her friends. Ecclesiasticus 26 verse 1. Blessed is the man that hath a virtuous wife, for the number of his days shall be doubled. So because Yuna is kindly, she is seen as precious in the eyes of others. She literally speaks healing into their lives. So when you should have died, her kind words extend your life through spells like cure or life. Also, remember that Aeons or summoned beasts represent the gods of other nations, and as we learned, the other nations set their kings as gods. These Aeons, therefore, are pagan kings. Also, David said that these kings are Israel's enemies, but because Yuna is kindly,
Your first real battle. Let's see some style.
Show us what your training has taught you, Yuna.
Okay.
Proverbs chapter 16 verse 7. When a man's ways please the Lord, he maketh even his enemies to be at peace with him. In other words, Yuna can ask for the help of even her enemies. That is why the Aeons fight for her. Just like the king of Persia saved Esther, who was a Jew from Benjamin and therefore a slave, from Haman, who was the king's own servant. This is because she kept the commandments, was modest, and most importantly, was obedient to her husband. This is like the Bible says she's supposed to be. By contrast, Lulu is a foul-mouthed woman who has nothing good to say to anyone. So it makes sense that her words, or her magic, are all about hurting and cursing people. Ecclesiasticus chapter 26 verse 27. A loud crying woman and a scald shall be sought out to drive away the enemies. Lulu is a loud crying woman. She cries with words of cursing to drive around the enemy. How? By cursing them with fire, ice, water, or lightning. She's great for hurting others, but she cannot get a husband for life of her. Her personality traits in the game, interestingly, translate to how she fights as a character. It's perfect story writing. Now, let's check back in Kilka.
What's up?
Yuna's saying she wants you with us.
Huh?
I want to ask you to be my guardian.
You know what? There's no time for jokes, yeah? He may be a blitzball whiz kid, but up against fiends, he's a newbie.
Not a guardian, then. I just want him nearby.
What?
What? What do you mean?
It's just that, well,
We're all going to the temple anyway. Can't this wait till later?
I'm sorry. I shouldn't have.
There's nothing to be sorry about. I'm just not really sure what's going on.
My apologies.
So Yuna wants to make Tidus a guardian, so we need to learn more about fiends, and especially Sin Spawn, next time on Lamech's Effects.